Gap. And I am so grateful to be here with you today and have this opportunity to answer your questions about the Business Analyst Blueprint. So before I dive in too far, if you could please just let me know that you can hear me and see this first slide, that I'm sharing the right screen. Actually, I think I'm sharing the wrong screen, so I just double checked. GoToWebinar's been doing that. You should see this first screen now. You're probably seeing like the question box before. So let me know. Good. Thank you, Paula. Thank you, Linda, Pamela, Felicia, Josh. Awesome, awesome. All right, I think we are good. So thank you for being here. We already have like over 50 people that have logged in live. So, and I'm anticipating a lot of questions. So I am just gonna dive right in. We also have with us today, Marcy and Jamie, who are our course support and customer support and all kinds of things that they do to help Bridging the Gap run. And they might be kind of commenting in the chat box, or you might hear from them as well if something kind of goes wrong in the webinar. And they will be sharing links as like if there's resources that I think I want to draw your attention to, and as we start talking about the course more specifically. So on that note, just a few like housekeeping items. So if you have a question, you can type it into the chat box, or you can raise your hand. I already see a couple of people have their hands raised. That's awesome. And I will be focusing in the early parts just on what comes in through the chat box, just so I can make sure to stay focused on the things that I think we need to cover to answer the questions that have been mostly coming up about the blueprint. And once we get through that core material, I'd love to speak to you. So if you want to raise your hand and I can bring you off mute, you're by default on mute, so don't worry, nobody can hear you. And then that would be a great time if you have a question and want to discuss something further about the blueprint. That would be a great time to do that. Okay, so questions in the chat I'll be taking first, and then I'll be looking at who has their hands raised and bringing you off mute so we can have a discussion. Since we are getting ready to start the Business Analyst Blueprint next week, and Tuesday is the last day to register, my focus in this webinar is really on answering questions about the program and any career-related questions you might have to really confirm or disconfirm if this is the right program for you, like if this is the right step. It's not the right step for everyone, and so definitely we can have those discussions. So we do other webinars and other givebacks throughout the year where we have more like open Q&A about careers and things like that, and the purpose of this is really to help people who might be considering the blueprint decide, make a yes/no decision on that. Okay. So if there's any questions I don't answer or we kind of don't dive into deeply, that's why. All right, let's see. So let's dive in. All right, so I always like to start by sharing the Business Analyst Manifesto. And this is really how I view the value of business analysis and like what we do and why we are here and why we love this role so much. Right? So out of chaos, we create order. Out of disagreement, we create alignment. Out of ambiguity, we create clarity. But most of all, we create positive change for the organizations we serve. So in more practical terms, what this means is that a business analyst navigates the communication to discover what the business needs and wants, and drives forward the requirements of the solution, right? So often there's a significant software component to that solution, but software alone is never the true creator of positive change in organizations. And we're going to talk a bit about that in a bit, right? We need a driver. We need to know why we're doing what we're doing. We need somebody who gets everybody on the same page, both business and IT on the same page and multiple business stakeholders on the same page. And this is why we become business analysts, because we kind of love that ambiguity that becomes clarity. Like we get that we can handle the ambiguity, but we really want to drive towards that clarity, right? And so we can navigate both sides of that and move our project teams from disagreement into alignment, from ambiguity into clarity. Take chaos and make order out of it. So why do you become a business analyst? Typically, there's something about this that fuels you, right? Something that you want, something that you desire. This is what you desire to step into. And for those, I mean, we've been helping people get started in this profession for nearly 10 years now. And what I've seen is with those of you with more of a technical background, it's often this desire to go beyond the technical sphere and really partner with the business and see the bigger picture of your work, see it actually create these changes. You've probably been on projects that like didn't create this kind of change, right? I know I have. And like you want to actually make sure you're solving the real problem. And for those of you with the business background, this is actually how I originally came into business analysis. It's often like to solve the problems that you experience every day, but often honestly to get out of work that maybe feels boring or feels the same day in and day out, and get to do something bigger and better with your career. I was just in Atlanta keynoting at the Business Analyst Boot Camp there, and I shared more about my story. I've shared a lot about my story from QA to business analysis. I shared what I was doing like before that and how I was in what felt like this very menial job doing data entry. I had a great title. I was like in the editorial department, and for somebody with a philosophy and English major, like that was like knocking it out of the park in terms of landing a job right out of college. But what I was doing day to day just felt so boring to me, and I was so miserable, and that just like had a ripple effect, a negative ripple effect across all areas of my life, right? And then as I got into QA and then into business analysis, and as I started enjoying the work that I was doing day to day and really embracing that and embracing a lot of these principles, like my whole life changed, my whole world changed as I was doing work that I was really called to do. So the other question we get is about opportunities for business analysts, right? So what does this actually mean from a career perspective? Like, yeah, Laura, doing great work and fun work is great, but like, where's the money, right? So this is from the IIBA 2017 salary survey, and their average salary of business analysts that they reported in the United States was $94,000 a year. And then in the world, I know we have an international audience, so a lot of you probably aren't in the US, and it's really hard with salary or with currency fluctuations and cost of living differences to have a number, right, for worldwide. But the number that they gave worldwide was somewhere in the neighborhood of $84,000 a year. So for many of us, like this is a step up. I know for me, when I went from QA to BA, that was a 40% salary increase that I got just like from moving that role into that role to another. And from going to editorial to QA, it was similar, right? These are how we take steps up in our salary, by taking on more responsibilities and adding more value to our organizations. And the projections for people with business analyst skills are going up. And I see a lot of fear too around like, what's happening to the BAs and the job title and this. Like, we're going to talk about the core skills that you need to be successful as a business analyst. And I really do believe, like, no matter what your title is, there is somebody doing business analysis on every successful project, right? So there's always somebody doing this kind of work, even if they don't have the business analyst title. And so focusing more on those skills and what does it mean to be successful and how do we contribute to project success is really important. Okay. Let's see. So that's just a little bit of context for like why we're here, why we do it, we do it business or at Bridging the Gap. And I would love to hear from you about your career goal for 2018. So when you're thinking about what you want to be accomplishing by the end of the year, what you want to be accomplishing maybe or ready to step into next year in 2019, what comes up for you? What do you really want? What's your career goal? And that's not a theoretical question. Like, I would love for you to type that into the chat box, because that will help me focus on the aspects of the blueprint that would or would not be relevant to you based on what you share. Okay. And I'll give it a minute there. Okay. Let's see. Okay, I see a couple of questions. I will definitely get to those in a few minutes. All right. I want to be a certified business analyst before the end of the year. Okay, awesome. I'm really looking to evolve from the project coordinator role that I'm in. That's perfect. Love it. Okay, I was in IT for 13 years and now I've had a break of 12 years. I want to get back now. We've had a lot of people kind of re-kickstart their career. By the end of the year, my career goal is to go through the blueprint. Awesome, Zachary, get professional training and attain my ECBA certification. Cool. RV says BA seems like a good fit. Do we provide certifications too? I will talk about certification. I'm new to BA. Where should I start? That's what we're going to talk about today. Some people interested in the product owner role or mastering the product from the product point of view. I just want to get placed. I just graduated and to do my certification. Okay, awesome. So those are all great goals. Some others that want to acquire the CBAT before the end of the year and transition to a more senior business analyst role. Okay, very, very cool. Sorry, they keep coming in and I love hearing these, so I keep getting way late into them. So Prachi says, I want to start my career as a BA and be successful in it. Felicia says, I'm new to the business analyst role and already on an intense project, and so I'd like to know how to be successful and effective. Okay, so these are great answers, and they're all answers similar to, for the most part, answers similar to other participants that we've had in the past. Okay, so what is covered in the Business Analyst Blueprint? And for the questions around, like, what does it take to get started? What does it take to be successful? And even a little bit about the product view, or I want to evolve the role I'm in now, like project coordinator, into business analyst. How does what we cover in the Business Analyst Blueprint help with that? So if you've gone through the free training that we've offered, you've kind of gotten a bit of a dive on this, though I realize that not everybody on this call has gone through that training. And so I want to just talk through these techniques here and why they're important. Great refresher for those of you who have gone through that training. So this is the Business Analyst Blueprint, and it covers 12 different techniques and skills that I see are critical to success as a business analyst, especially as a new business analyst. Now, really interesting, when IIBA just released in the last couple of months their ECBA Plus program. They actually haven't totally gone live with it yet, and they identified 12 skills that were critical for new business analysts as well. And 10 out of 10 or 12 skills that we have here were completely aligned to what the IIBA had there, and there was just a couple that were a little tiny bit different and nuances that we actually cover in our BA Essentials Masterclass. So it was like, all right, we're totally aligned with IIBA and been talking about this for a year or so before they came out with that program. So it was good to see that overlap. But the way we organize this is looking at the business level, the software level, and the information level. So these are the three areas of requirements that you really need to explore to know that you've like figured out the whole project, right? That you know what the solution looks like, that you know what the change looks like for the organization. And so you start with that business level. This is the business process. How does the business actually do work today? How can we improve that process, right? That's a big, big part of this. So when we analyze at this level, we discover that real business problem, and we do that critical work of aligning like the different stakeholder groups. We're not even talking about the technology yet, but what do the different stakeholder groups want out of this process, right? And how are we engaging them to make sure we understand their perspective? And then we go to the software level. So this is, what does the software actually do to support the business process? Or what are the functional requirements or features? We've been getting questions like, what about the FRD, right? The functional requirements document. What does that look like? How does that fit into the blueprint? We teach techniques called use cases and wireframes, which are more of an analytical tool that allows you to clarify those functional requirements, and it gives you the analytical thinking capability to figure out what those requirements are and to figure out what questions to be asking about those requirements. So a typical FRD is like a list of those requirements. It's really hard to put those requirements in context, and a use case is a great analytical tool to help you discover those. And another question we get about this is like, how technical is this, right? Like, do I need to be a software developer to do this, or do I need to know how to write the code? When we're talking about software level requirements, we're not talking about technical coding. details. We're not talking about how to actually build the software or what the technology looks like. We're talking about the aspects of the software that are visible to an end user of that system. So like when you go to an online website to order a course or a product on Amazon, right? Like, what do you see? What are the product details that get displayed? What happens when you click add to cart? When you go to your cart, how do you actually check out? So it's that visual, visible aspect of the software. It's super important, and this is where we get business and technology users truly on the same page about the software requirements. And then we look at the information level. And so this is a bit of a conceptual shift. So the other two levels are how do things flow, right? How does the process flow? How does the software flow? This is how is information actually stored by our system, right? How do we manage data in our system? So if we're looking at an online ordering website, what are the product details, right? What are the fields that go into that? As a customer, can I have one order or multiple orders? Can I have one shipping address or multiple shipping addresses? How does that relate back to the order? And these are the terms that we describe in a glossary, and then we organize those visually into an entity relationship diagram to show the relationships between those. People that have seen those might have seen like the huge spider webs. We don't cover huge spider webs of entity relationship diagrams. We cover how to do this at a high level from a business perspective and use that analytical tool to understand the relationships between your data. And then what fields do you need to capture, and how, if you have systems working together and connecting together, how does data map between those systems? And again, you don't have to be a database engineer to do this. This is about business-focused information related to the data. And it's really important that business analysis happens at all of these levels, and that there's two aspects of this, right? There's the analysis deliverables that you create. Those are along the top. And that's more the output or the deliverable, and also the analysis technique, the how do you think about that kind of requirement so that you come up with the right questions to ask. And then there's the communication technique, because we're not like just writing or making up these requirements. We're discovering them from stakeholders, we're validating them, we're getting people on the same page, we're clarifying terminology. And so that communication technique is equally important, and that's why we focus on kind of both aspects of that in the blueprint. All right, just take a sip there. I can get kind of talking fluently about the blueprint. It's a passionate topic for me. Okay, I'm just going to take a quick look. We still have a lot of career goals. Oh my goodness, career goals have flowed in. Okay, awesome, awesome, awesome. Let's see. So Jennifer had a question, and it's around these skills. So I'm going to answer this. So many BA jobs are asking for SQL and coding experience and the ability to process data, in addition to possibly Salesforce. Like, what percentage of BA jobs require that coding skill? So coding, that kind of role is when you're doing like business analysis and some sort of technical implementation. And if you were going to learn one technical skill on top of what I consider the core business analyst skills we're covering here, I would suggest SQL. We actually have like a crash course on relational database concepts included as a bonus when we go through ERDs, because it's the conceptual piece that you need to know around SQL to understand SQL. And then SQL is just like a query language in order to be able to pull data from the database. So there's a difference between like SQL to report on data and like SQL to build a database. And so that level of being able to do a little bit of reporting or analysis of the data, that could be a skill to add, and that's probably more common than being the person who actually takes these information level requirements and builds them into the database, to the database. So I hope that helps, Jennifer. Okay. All right, so let's see. Oh, so the other thing I wanted to say about this is you really do need all three perspectives to get a complete view of the requirements. And the reason for that is that we're still seeing these crazy numbers of project failures that are due to the result of poor requirements gathering. And usually it's because one or more areas of the blueprint or of the requirements process, like we might do a great job of looking at our use cases and not a great job of looking at our data, right? Or not a great job of understanding our business process. And so we build perfectly understandable functional requirements documents that don't actually serve the business need, right? And so that becomes one of these statistics of poor requirements gathering, right? And so that's why we really need to be looking at all of these different areas to make sure that we're not creating defects in our requirements and we're not missing requirements in our projects. Okay. So I know that a lot of you are here to talk about specifically about the program, and so I'm going to go ahead and talk about that, and then I will take questions about the program. I saw a couple of those come in earlier, and if you have specific questions about the program, feel free to get those into the chat box as well. Okay, so what do we actually do in the Business Analyst Blueprint? Well, we cover all the skills that we just talked about, right? So we're looking at all of these different analysis and communication techniques. We cover those in detail in specific lessons inside each module. And this is an interactive session, and it is the last session that we're running this year because it's a 4-month program. And we have a lot of instructor support and a lot of interaction that we do throughout the program. And so it's literally the last program we can run this year. And the last day to register is next Tuesday. And this is really the only way to work with me personally as you expand your business analysis experience. It is also worth 36 professional credits for either your IIBA certification or your PMI certification. So if you are looking for one of those certifications, we can talk about that more in depth in the Q&A period. But the first step to that is earning the professional credits. So you need to earn the professional credits in order to submit your application, and then you submit your application and then you prepare for the exam and you sit for your exam. So I did notice that a few of you had the goal to earn your certification by the end of the year. And so that actually, quite honestly, we couldn't directly support with the blueprint because you would earn your credits in January when we finish the program, and then you would be ready to submit your application and do your preparation. So just something to think about there, but it is a bit of a time-intensive process to do the certifications, and so that's, to me, more of like usually like a 6-month plan that you want to put in place around a certification goal. And then we do have a really unique model, and because it is so misunderstood, I just want to talk through like how the program actually works. So it's delivered over 4 months, and we go through each of those 3 modules that I just discussed. And in each module, you will get videos and audio, so whatever you like to do, if you want to take it with you, like on your commute, or if you want to watch a video, on your lunch break, all different ways to consume the content. We also have full text PDF transcripts of all the lessons. Every lesson comes with some sort of template, swipe file, or checklist. It really depends. Like if you're a discovery session, I think we have like a meeting agenda template and a checklist for like how to approach that session. But when you're talking about a process flow diagram, like the visual model, we give you a swipe file for that. But then the textual model of how to detail that out, that's a template, right? So it really depends what is most going to support you applying that material right away in your work. And then we have appropriate work samples to go along with that. And then a really important part is the exercises. So as you're going through each of the modules, we're encouraging you and supporting you as you actually apply those materials in your work as a business analyst, or even if you are not yet in a business analyst role. So somebody mentioned being in a project coordinator role, wanting to move into business analysis. So one way you could do this is like the lesson on process modeling. Look at your process for coordinating some aspect of a project today and analyze and document that as a business process. And then perhaps a piece of software you use. And so you are actually getting experience doing business analysis in your role, which tends to lead to more experiences moving into business analysis. And so we really encourage people to apply the materials in their role if they can. And you don't receive this all at once, right? So it's a lot of material. That's why we space it out over 4 months. It's dripped out a lot like a college course. So you get a couple of lessons a week. And really we get a lot of questions about like how much time, like do I have to take 4 months off work? Like definitely not, right? That's a little crazy. So what we do suggest is that you plan to allocate 2 to 3 hours a week to be going through the materials and to be applying what you're doing. So you're actually practicing the material, doing the exercises, and then getting instructor support along the way. So I want to talk about what that looks like because this is a really important aspect of the program as well. So because it's a live session and it has a start date and an end date, we have a lot of live webinars. So we connect on GoToWebinar like this, and we have time for questions and instruction, kind of additional value-added accountability type instruction, and time to answer your questions specifically about the materials. You also have email support with our instructors. So as you are like figuring out how to handle some aspect of the business process, right? And you're like, well, you know, the course material says this, but my situation just feels a little bit different. Like, how do I handle that? Right? So if you were in a normal training program, like you took that class and you're back at work and like you don't have anyone to call, right? You don't have anyone to like ask a question like that. That's why we provide this kind of support in the program, because we want you to be able to apply it and then ask those questions as they come up. And so you have that email support through the end of January. And then as you finish each module, you get to submit that workbook, and you get to submit that work and you'll get feedback from an instructor. So you'll know, where are you on track? Where might you need to make adjustments? Where can you improve? What did you do really well? And this is so, so important, because this is how you truly get that confidence of, yes, I'm a business analyst. This is how you know, like, I did it right, and not just like, I think I did it right, right? Or I'm not sure if I did it right. And so it's a really important part of the program as well. I'm just going to take a quick sip of water there. Let's see. Let me go through. I see lots of questions coming in. One of the early questions. So Prashi had asked, what assistance can we expect throughout the course? Do you provide assistance with placements and resume building? And also after the course, is there some trainings that can help with real world problems, even if they are on the job? Great question. So we have the 4 months through the program. So I just kind of talked about the assistance. We don't have placement assistance, but I am going to announce a bonus around resumes at the end. So stay tuned for that. And let's see, so, and then the real world afterwards, we are looking at how can we extend this, right? The instructor support is super valuable. We have people coming back from the last round of the blueprint into this round of the blueprint in order to get this kind of instructor support and to take their career to the next level. So we're looking at, you know, that's always an option. You know, we offer a very discounted rate to take the program again, and we're looking at other ways to provide that too. So, Prashi, and the idea is that you don't like wait till you're done with the program to apply it, but you're actually doing it while you're on the job. Okay. All right. Let's see. At the end, you do get a certificate of completion. This is the sample of what it looks like, right? And the idea here is that this is just to reaffirm it's pre-approved by IIBA and PMI for the professional credits that you need. And the way that you do this is not through like quizzes or pop-up quizzes or, you know, exams to study for. It's by actually submitting that work that I mentioned and having that reviewed by an instructor. So you are gaining experience as you are completing the course, and you're having that reviewed, and then that's how you earn your certificate of completion. One of the questions that always comes up around this is, well, what if I'm in between jobs and I don't have a project? We do provide a lot of ways to apply it outside of an office setting. What some of the participants have really seen work really well is to volunteer for an organization. So whoever you're connected with, whether a nonprofit or a for-profit organization, is one way that you can get this experience, demonstrate value, and actually apply these in a real world setting. And that tends to lead to other opportunities for people as well. Okay. see. All right, so I did just want to share a couple of stories from the last session, the last couple of sessions. So this will be our third session of the Business Analyst Blueprint, and Roshini joined us for our 2017 session. And what was awesome about her story, and all of these people I'm going to talk about have stories on the website, Jamie, if you are able to share the case study link as well, because if one of these lands with you, it'd be great case study to listen to just to kind of get a feel for how that person like leveraged the training and how they approach their career, right? And kind of just having a lot of great takeaways there. So Roshini was in a support analyst role when she joined the Blueprint. And then 4 weeks into that role, she got officially assigned part-time duties as a business analyst. And what she did was just what I just talked about, recommended to the person who talked about being in project coordination, right? She just started analyzing a business process, and she talked to a project manager and was like, what project could I help with? And they're like, we have tons of projects. And she was impactful on that, and it ended up kind of just rolling into that role for her. And she was like ahead of the program and was starting to do like use cases, and we're like, we're coming, right? Like that content is coming. And so she really leveraged all of these tools. And at the end, she was like, I've done them all individually, right? And I've done them on different projects, because at that point she was working on a few different projects. And she really felt like she had the tools she needed to be successful as a business analyst. Sarah was in our 2018 session. She was super active in our online community. So we also have an online community you can participate in and connect with other professionals. And Sarah was in a dual role of trainer and business analyst when she joined the Blueprint. So she had quite a bit of business analyst experience actually, but she wasn't sure what that career looked like, right? Like, is this really a career path, right? Do people actually do this all the time? Do I want to be more of a trainer or a business analyst? It was more for her about seeing this connection between her innate gifts, like what she had been doing well naturally for a long time, and what she wanted to do in her career. And so she really felt much more motivated to move forward with the business analysis aspect of her career after the program. And then Perry was also in our 2018 session, and Perry is in the UK, and he actually deferred going for his ICEB certification. So I know a lot of you have talked about like your certification goals, and he made a decision. Like, he had been looking at the job market and like, I don't know how to do this and this and this. Like, all the jobs that I want to apply for, I'm missing the experience to do those jobs, right? And so his plan had been to get the ICEB certification in order to qualify himself for more jobs, but that's not what he was seeing in the job postings. And so he chose to do the Blueprint instead. And what happened is and he was not employed at that time. Like, so he was doing the materials, using a lot of our kind of interesting ways of applying them outside of a professional setting, kind of looking back at past projects and applying them in different situations personally in order to really get a feel for that technique. And he still felt like he got this big confidence boost. And then just like a couple of weeks after we closed the program, he posted in our group about how he got his first offer for a BA job. And then a couple of days later, he got the second job offer as well. So it was a really fulfilling story of like using the experience that we talked about and how to actually start doing that to get that experience, and how that gave him the confidence boost in the interviews as well. And I know now he's going forward with his ICEB certification. Okay, so with that in mind, I want to turn to a few of the questions. So I can see that they are coming in fast and furious here. Let's see. So Prachi, to share someone new to the profession actually making a switch, that we just did. Oh, cost of the course. Yes, I apologize. So we have our free training, Sandra, that we have been offering now, the investment in the Business Analyst Blueprint. So everything that we have been talking about here, all of the training and the instructor support and everything here is a $2,997 investment, and there's a payment plan where you can get started for $997, and then there's 3 payments after that of $797. So apologize, it's not a free program. We do have our free training that we're offering now, which is our gift to the community, and this is definitely this kind of support is an investment. And I know sometimes that investment can feel like a big one to people, and so what I challenge you to think about is, where does this take you? How does it get you to the next step in your career? How does it elevate your salary potential? What does that fulfillment in your work really look like? How does that change? Like when I talked about, moving into new roles, and that changed my whole outlook on my life, like what does that mean to you? And so it is an investment in time and money. And I have been making these investments in my career recently, and they're always worth it to me. So, okay. I'm going to go ahead and look for anyone who wants to raise their hand and ask a question. Let's see. Remember, we're mostly taking questions about the blueprint at this point, and kind of if it's right for you. So I have Gajnana. Hello? Gajnana, you're off mute on our end. Are you there? Okay. I put you back on mute. Go ahead and raise your hand again if you would like to ask a question. Okay. RV. RV, would you like to ask a question? Might be muted on your end. Okay. This is always a fun. All right, Gajnana has her hand back on. Hello?
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi. Oh, I apologize.
Okay,
Yeah.
sorry, no problem.
Yeah.
Oh,
What question can I
actually,
answer for you?
yeah, I put question in the chat window also. Actually, I'm new to this one. I just, where do I start with this BA?
Where do you start with your BA career?
Yes.
Yeah. And what are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm the developer now in the Salesforce.
So you're a developer.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's where, like, I would suggest starting to look at areas where you can be applying these techniques. Excuse me. So where, like, and you might even already be doing this in your business analyst or in your development career, right? Are you analyzing requirements and communicating with end users, for example?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So do you
Okay.
feel, so then so you're doing some of the requirements analysis. Are you doing that mostly in your software requirements?
Yes. I'm doing that
Yeah.
one.
Yeah, so the next step from there would be to look at like the business process around that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, I have one query. What will be the next platform for me? I mean, to become this, where do I start my BA?
Your MBA?
No, BA only, business analysis.
Okay. So what you want to do is position that experience you have, right? So if you're analyzing requirements today, probably more at the
Yes.
software level, right? Take stock of that. How much are you doing with the stakeholder
Oh,
communication part of it as well? And start to present that on your resume and even internally. So like, is there an internal business analyst role in your organization?
yes, still it is not there, but I'm not sure about that. Sorry.
Okay. So yeah, I would look for internal opportunities first. And if there's not a business analyst, like I've seen developers move in to business analysis roles or create that role, right, to solve a
Okay.
problem in the organization. Like we're not getting clear requirements from our stakeholders. And so really like looking to move into that from where you're at now is your best approach.
Okay, sure.
Okay.
Okay.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
You're
Okay, thank you
welcome.
so much.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. So, Felicia, hello.
Hi. Hi.
Hey,
Hi, Laura, how are you?
good. How are you?
Good, thanks. Greetings from the UK.
Yeah.
A
Oh,
very,
nice. Nice
very,
to
a
have
very
you.
wet meeting. Thanks. It's been great to just listen in some of your calls. I have had to look at some of your kind of free training, and particularly because I'm about 3 months into a BA role at the moment. I'm working for quite a large UK uh, entertainment company, TV
Hmm.
entertainment company, which has quite a complex structure. And as you can imagine, I mean, in my office alone, there's 3,000 people that work there, consisting of loads of different departments. And as a BA, I'm currently working on a really large project at the moment, which requires me to gather requirements from different stakeholders, as you've already spoken about, um, and to try and almost translate them into something that can be then developed and built and sent over to say a more technical team that can build those requirements into actual functional things, if you know what I mean. And I'm come from a consultancy background, so I was a bit lesser into the detail.
Uh-huh.
And I just kind of wanted to know what advice you might give for someone that's coming from, say, a consulting role, going into a more detailed BA role, and how to kind of effectively gather those requirements from stakeholders. I think one of my biggest challenges is the fact that I'm very new to the organisation. But I'm also very new to the role in itself. So actually, being able to having to learn the organisation as well as learn what the role entails is quite a challenge. And also being able to effectively engage stakeholders so that you can build up their trust. And I know that you mentioned the way that one of your approach is you make it quite exciting. So when you used to run your workshops, you had a way of making it quite fun and
Hmm.
engaging. I just wanted to understand kind of what advice would you give to be able to do that and engage stakeholders in a more fun and interactive way to build up their trust.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it definitely sounds like you would be a good fit in the program because a lot of the techniques that we cover are perfect for that. But like
Mhm.
the techniques that I would encourage you to narrow in on, whether it's through the blueprint or not, would be understanding that business process, right? And so some of
Mhm.
the ways that you can engage stakeholders around the process are like document not just documentation reviews, but like whiteboard sessions of what the process is or observing them at work. So it's natural when you are new to be like you're drinking from a fire hose and you have a lot of information to absorb. And
Mhm.
so really using some of the models that we cover here are going to help you figure out what do you know, what don't you know, what are the questions you have so you can come back with what feels like really intelligent questions. What's the information you would expect from a stakeholder in this kind of meeting? What's the information you need to ask for, right? So
Mhm.
it's a combination, I would think, of learning some of the tools that help you get to that more detailed level, especially like the use cases and data level,
Mhm.
and just knowing that you've got to ask the questions, right? And then
Yeah.
that's as somebody outside of the business, that's to be expected as you get to know the business and get to know the role. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's perfect. Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Just pour some more water real quick. Sorry if that created some background noise. Okay. Okay. And just to reiterate, we're mostly doing questions about the blueprint here. So if you have a question about the program. Okay. Oh, I just see one more hand. So Prashi, oh, you might need to enter a code on your side. Oh, there you go.
Yeah, hey Laura.
Yeah, hey.
So my question was based really on the BA, and I know this is a blueprint question, but really it's on the career as a BA. Okay,
Okay,
so
yeah.
my background is I have a computer science graduate degree and a postgraduate degree in finance. Do you think this will be a good role? Like, do finance people
Oh,
come
yeah.
efficient in as a BA role?
Yeah, for sure. So one of the patterns in the industry is that like this is like the functional process view of the business analyst role. Like what are the requirements for the project? And there's another part of the industry that's like, what's the data telling us? What are the business analytics, like in the kinds of things that you've probably done as a financial analyst, right? And so we're seeing also overlaps between those two parts of the roles. So I think, excuse me, you could really bring that financial background to that kind of a role specifically. We also see people with a financial background like become the expert in their organization on doing this kind of work for financial systems and financial processes.
Okay, great. Well, also I've recently moved to United States, and it's just been a year and a half, and I land up, with all kinds of sales jobs and mortgage jobs, which I really don't want to do, and it doesn't do justice to my educational background. So this is why I wanted to take up this blueprint, so that I'm able to, use all that knowledge, all of the education into this field and make something. So is it advisable to just look for those job opportunities in my own company I am in, or do you think it would be easier?
Oh, sorry. You had another option you wanted me to.
Yeah,
it's always easier in your current company. Yes.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. I thought maybe I'll have to just start from the scratch.
Yeah, that's a great point, because it feels like, oh, I want this new career. Like, have you talked to someone internally about your career goals?
No, I'm just so suspicious about all this that you're the only hope.
Yeah, I would say just start a piece of it, Prachi, right? So like in the free training, we talk about how to do the business process specifically, right? So could you apply that now and see how that's received, right? And then does that create a foothold to talk about how you'd really like to be doing more of this? And that's what happens. Like, so, when I shared Rashini's story, it's not like she didn't hide it, right? You can't hide it and then have people recognize it. Like, she was out there asking for those opportunities, and it created that opportunity for her.
Yeah. Okay, great. Yeah. Well, thank you for answering the questions.
All right. Okay, let's see. Zachary. Hi, Zachary. Hello? Zachary, if you might be muted on your end. Okay, I remuted you here. Go ahead and raise your hand again if you have a question. Okay. Samira, it's not letting me mute you. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and look at the chat box real quick. And Jamie has been doing a great job of keeping up. There's way more questions than I was anticipating even. Okay, so let me just see what we've got here. Okay, I am working in Salesforce and want to move to business analyst. Okay, can you? Yeah, so actually I just did a webinar with Mike Wheeler of Mike Wheeler Media yesterday on Facebook. We don't have a link to that right here, but I would really encourage you to check that out for information on the Salesforce business analyst path. So if you haven't, maybe you came in through that, Kashana, and so if in that case, you probably have seen that already. So the path is it's similar to what we talked about with Rashini, right? So let me just go back to that. So her role was support analyst. She was like doing support admin type work and analyzed a support admin process and used that as a launch pad to get into more of a business analyst role. So in a Salesforce admin role, it's really a similar path, right? So you're in a Salesforce admin role. What are the changes that people want to make to Salesforce? What's not working about Salesforce in your organization? How can you what's the process for setting up new sales users or running specific sales reports? And it's really consciously going out and doing those techniques that we cover in the blueprint in order to build the business analysis experience, and then being able to demonstrate yourself as qualified for those business analyst roles. So that's the path that I would see for somebody in a Salesforce admin role. I'm happy to talk more about that. Also, if you weren't on the webinar yesterday, feel free to check that out as well. It's up on his Facebook page. Okay, let's see. How many total hours are required for IIBA certification? That is 35 to apply for the CBAP. Okay, so you get one extra, you get 36. How do people who are new to the role practice all those modules? Do we get to projects to actually work on? So that's the other piece of this. I'm so glad you asked that question. So we help you find areas, and this is coming from Prashi, who we just spoke to. So even in a financial analyst role, we will help you find areas where you can analyze some data, analyze a piece of software you use, and essentially you're demonstrating it at work. If you're in between projects, we do have other ways of leveraging the materials, but we see the most benefit from people who actually apply it in their live work setting. Okay, let's see. Now my case is that I have no technical background, and whenever I attend the meetings, I'm not able to understand a few of the tech terms. So Yashra, like, you got to ask the questions. So that, I mean, we're all uncomfortable with technology at sometimes, or part of being a BA is actually you're always going to be in situations as a business analyst where you feel like the least knowledgeable person in the room about the domain or about the technology or about anything, quite honestly. Where you want to have a domain of experience and confidence and expertise is in these analytical skills, right? And how to ask the questions, how to do discovery, how to analyze the requirements. And that enables you to ask the questions and feel really good about them being the right questions, even when you're with a developer. So the way that materializes, like say we talk about a use case specifically, is you're trying to come up with the user does this, the system does this, the user does this, the system does this, right? And then you're like, well, what does the system do in response? Or how does that work? Or what are our capabilities in our current software? And now you can go to a developer and you can ask that specific question, okay? And then you can use that as a conversation tool. So you're looking at it from the functional level, and they're able to converse with you and meet. Sometimes you have to do a little digging and prying. Well, what does that code mean from a user perspective, right? And you're asking that question to draw that out from them. Okay, let's see. And I'm seeing that I know a few people have to drop off at the top of the hour. And so I'm going to go and answer some more questions. And before we do this, I did want to cover a couple of the bonuses that we're offering and also just have some closing comments about the blueprint. And then I will stay on as long as needed and as long as my voice holds to answer the questions that you have as well. Let's see. I know that there's more pouring in, and I want to make sure we don't miss anybody. Okay, so I kind of skipped over the bonuses when I was going through the slides here, and we do have 3 bonuses when you join the blueprint. So it's everything we just talked about in terms of the instructor support and the materials and the credits and kind of everything you need to feel like you have a full toolbox as a business analyst. We also include our BA Essentials Masterclass, the self-study version of that course at the end, because the blueprint focuses on the techniques, like how do you get started doing the techniques right now. The business analyst, the BA Essentials Masterclass is what is the step-by-step process you would use on a project as a business analyst. And so you get that resource at the end. We're also including a certification planning workshop. So this is how do you take, a lot of you asked about certification, how do you take your credits and turn that into a certification? So there's a lot that goes into an IIBA or a PMI certification, and we don't do certification prep specifically at Bridging the Gap, but we have a great partner who will walk you through the planning process. And then we include also a resume and CV building workshop. So for those of you who do think, I'm looking for a job in another employer, or I'm in between jobs, how do I take this and turn this into a job opportunity like Perry did, right? We'll help you figure out exactly how to highlight your skills and your experience from the blueprint in your resume or your CV. And our instructor and program manager, Paula Bell, runs this session, and she just got like knock it out of the park feedback on the last time she did this. I think somebody said it was like more valuable than the 3 private sessions they had with a career coach or something. So it was really super, super awesome, and people took a lot away from the program, from the workshop. And these are not any additional costs. These are included with your investment in the Business Analyst Blueprint. And so it just adds to your experience and helps take it all to the next level. So again, I'm going to stay on to the top of the hour for more questions, but I did have a few closing comments about, you know, this experience and kind of where, excuse me, where you might want to go and how to make this decision. So, because I know that, you know, you might feel like this is a big deal, right? The time is a big deal. The money can feel like a big deal. There might be resentment, like, why is my employer not paying for this, right? Or why, you know, why isn't somebody else taking care of this for me? It's a common way to feel kind of around these decisions. And maybe, like, for whatever reason, it would just be better to wait. So, you know, it can feel that way, but the real question is, what happens if you don't take this step now, right? Like, what is your work maybe just kind of stagnating and you're tired of it? You know, or you're in a BA role, but you're not really confident that you have the skills you need to be successful, or that like this opportunity is right here waiting for you to take it, but you're kind of afraid that you're going to screw something up. So I want you to really look forward a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. I mean, I asked you to share your goal for this year. Like, think bigger for that. What is going to happen for you if you take this opportunity to step into a business analyst role and to really get confident in your skills and experience? What decision would you be grateful for if you made that investment today? So I know you deserve to have that kind of success, and I really do feel like if you're as geeked out about business analysis as I am, that the Business Analyst Blueprint is a big part of that path to ensure that you get those skills and the confidence you need and on that path to success. So there's a reason you're here today, right? And there's a reason you've engaged with us so far, and let's not lose this moment that we have together. So I think you're going to find more joy in your work. You're going to create more opportunities that you might not even be dreaming of right now. But they're like literally right there in front of you. Just like when Prashi and I were kind of talking about the opportunities that she had in front of her to take to the next step. And the other thing I want to address is that there's a lot of uncertainty in the world right now, right? Like, and sometimes things feel like they got a little better and sometimes they honestly don't, right? And, you know, sometimes when there's uncertainty or chaos or there's all kinds of other things going on, like we wonder what, you know, it's easy to say, let's wait till later when things kind of calm down, right? And what I will say is in this kind of uncertain world, what people need more than ever is business analysts. They need people with these skills, whatever your job title might be. And even when things are uncertain, the thing that is always certain is people who are not expanding are actually falling behind. And so constraining yourself is not a path to growth and security, and it's definitely not a path to a promotion, to an opportunity, to creating that joy of using your innate gifts. So I want you to be ahead, right? I want you to be recognized for your skills, and I want you to be secure in knowing that you will always have another opportunity to pursue because you've built up this core skill set that is so valuable in the industry. So I invite you to join us. I mean, it might feel like I'm a little bit like that I want this for you, and that's really just because I'm passionate about helping you take that next step, and I'm invested in you, in your career, and I want to see your potential. And I really do believe we build our profession one business analyst at a time, and I believe in this program and the kind of success that it can have for you. So I will stay on as long as needed. I'm super excited to get going. We have been doing so much planning for this session, and we do start next Thursday. That's a week from today, and the last day to register is Tuesday, and that's so that we can handle all the logistical stuff and not have any sort of unexpected issue kind of keep you from getting all the benefits of the program. All right, so I will stay on for any last questions. Let's see. So my case is that I have no technical background, and whenever I attend the meetings, I'm not able. Oh, it just answered that one. Sorry. Sorry about that. Okay. Now I know what to do. Shall I need to go get certified BA course, or should I simply try to learn the skills and the other tech terms by self-study? Now that I know what to do, shall I? Okay. So this is a question really, should I learn the skills or should I get certified? And what we find is that people who learn the skills first, so getting certified requires taking an exam, demonstrating you've absorbed the entire business analysis body of knowledge. It's quite a hefty book. It's an awesome book. It's a lot to take in, and it's a lot to take in if you're new to the profession. So one of the ways that people in the past session of the Blueprint really felt like it moved them forward towards certification is they got a core understanding of these skills. So then when they went to the business analysis body of knowledge and were reading that and trying to prepare for their certification, it wasn't as abstract to them as it was before. And so I would see something like the Blueprint or some sort of study in the skills to being a first step to being certified. Okay, let's see. Latana, the difference working in a large company with different units and teams more defined than a smaller company where you would need to apply all 3 skill levels and more technical. How does the Blueprint help with this? Okay, great question. So, and this is really about, big company versus small company, formal role versus informal role, right? So you're doing these skills no matter what. And the way that we teach the techniques is you learn the techniques, and it's not a process, right? It's not a methodology. So you bring this back to your organization and you apply it in the way that makes sense for your organization. If you're in a waterfall organization, which still exists, right, you might end up using these techniques to complete a really large specification document. But now you know the analytical skills that will help that document be clearer and more complete. If you're in a smaller company, you might write use cases for your own use to do the analysis, and you might be sharing those as user stories in an agile team. Or you might be just I've done things where I've created wireframes with some detailed notes behind them, and that's what the developers use. But I needed the use case either in my head or written out in order to know that I had completely analyzed those requirements. So, you can apply them at different levels depending on what your organization really needs and requires. What we're teaching here is the core analytical skills. And so you're going to be able to come up with those requirements more effectively. It's not a methodology that you have to take and apply. So thank you for that question. Where can I find the business case for a BA portfolio, and what's the best way to make the portfolio or it's not necessary for a BA? So I do have a partner who has a business case template, Julia, and we can get you that afterwards. She has a template that she sells, and we have a portfolio kind of resource that might be helpful for you. That's not really something we cover in the Blueprint specifically. And my thoughts on portfolios, how can you get everything onto one project list and make sure that people are prioritizing and making decisions about those projects that are aligned with the overall company goals. But that's that's the level up in business analysis. Business Analyst Blueprint is really what techniques do you need on a project level to make sure that project is successful. When you're talking about business cases and portfolios, it's at a different level. So just not something that we cover in the Blueprint. Okay, let's see. Felicia asked, are your document templates easy to adapt to any organization? Yes, yeah, so great question. Some organizations have specific templates. Right, so this is, again, it's about the skills, right? So you can take what you want from those templates. They are all editable, annotated. You could take that template and edit out what you don't need. You could add pieces to your organizational templates. For the purposes of completing the course, we ask that you use our templates because it's reinforcing your learning and helping you successfully complete the learning in the module. But in terms of actually using it in your organization, you can take that learning and you can customize it for your organization. Great question. Samira, I'm a BA, but finding it difficult to get a job after moving to a new country. Yeah, that is one of the most challenging scenarios, I think, Samira, is to move to a new country and to get that first job. And, it's partly is making sure you've got all your visa requirements lined up and submitted, and that's really clear, and that you're clear about your eligibility to work in that country. And partly, I think it's a lot of just networking and finding that first opportunity and maybe being a little flexible about what that first opportunity is. It's not an area I'm an expert in, unfortunately. Okay, let's see, is Derek? I see Derek had a question. Did not raise his hand. Oh, we had a few other hands raised. Jennifer. Hey, Jennifer.
Hi.
We've exchanged emails, so I'm super glad to hear your voice.
I know, it's nice to actually speak. I put my question in the chat window too, but I have two questions just about the blueprint. I'm trying to understand the difference between when you're talking about techniques versus skills, because I see analysis techniques and communication techniques, and then I see all the 12 little shapes that are the skills. So why wouldn't they be analysis skills, or are those two terms used interchangeably?
I'm probably using those interchangeably, yes. So when you know the technique, you have the skill.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Got it.
And when you've demonstrated that you can use the technique, then you have experience in that skill, right? And applied it. Yeah.
Okay. So either way, like if you're writing a resume, you're trying to take stock of, like, I've read some of your things about, taking stock of what do I know, what do I not yet know. That's where I'm like, so if I have created a process flow diagram, then in theory, I have the skill of process flow diagram, and it's an analysis skill.
Exactly.
Okay. And then my other question is, can you just talk a little bit about the difference between software and information? And all I can do is put it in context of something I've done. So that's why I'm trying to just understand likewise the difference. So if I took a process, it was all managed by paper, file folders, and a cabinet. And that originally I turned into an Excel spreadsheet for tracking a process where students were applying to universities. So to me, that is software level. I was the user, I was the use case, I guess, because of how the Excel document itself gets used. But then the information level, that to me is like data mapping. Is that where I'm taking, what's on the paper form and what the actual process is, therefore what, I guess, like columns and field names and things are created in Excel? Is that, I'm trying to just understand how those two, like, an actual example. Does that
yeah, it does. It makes perfect sense. So the software level, it could be like your Excel template, but it would also be like, envision a software system where you might update that information, right? Add and update and process that information in some way. So what kind of process was it again that you were streamlining?
Students were applying to multiple universities. So I was managing that application process. So they might send me 3 or 4 applications, and instead of having that all being dumped in one file folder, I spread it out so I could track all of, different, where they were in the process, which university, what degree level of study.
Yeah. So the software application that came to my mind there is where that student could go online. They could essentially create a intent to apply for these universities, and then share, however you're collaborating around what are their milestones for each of those, and then submit the application, or upload that application for you to review it if that's what you were doing for them, right? And then you're getting a notification of this one's ready to review, or this information has been updated, and the software is helping manage that process for you. So it's kind of a version beyond your spreadsheet.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
maybe.
And then the information level would be, what data are we storing about students, and what data are we storing about applications?
Okay. And in this case, I was actually the software user. It was for my own use. They were still, unfortunately, sending things manually.
Yeah.
So I was the user. But I guess what you're saying is the same thing. It's still, how do I want to use it? What do I need to track? What reports do I need?
Yep.
That's the information.
Yeah, it sounds like maybe there wasn't a significant software component, right? So you did a lot of work on the process level to make the process more efficient, and adding an Excel spreadsheet is a great way to do that.
Okay.
And that spreadsheet had essentially that data dictionary of like, well, what columns did you have in that spreadsheet, right? What information were you tracking for each application? That would be the kind of thing we would specify in a data dictionary as a business analyst.
Okay, so maybe more a bit in this case, what you're saying, business level and information level, software level, not so much, because I'm the user, it's really just about my business process flow.
Exactly, yep.
Okay. All right.
But you could envision a system that would help do that, right? And then you would get to that software level.
I see, versus designing an actual external use software.
Yeah.
Okay, I see what you're saying now. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Great question. Thank you. Yeah, let's see. Samira, you are self-muted. Okay. Yashraj, apologize if I'm saying your name wrong. Are you there? All right, I'm not hearing your voice. Okay. Sorry, I'm going to put you back on mute. I know we've gotten a lot of your questions through chat, so hopefully you got what you needed. Okay, don't see any other hands raised. Okay, let me pick back up with where I was in the chat box. Okay. Let's see. Thanks a bunch. Awesome. You're welcome, Olu. Nadia, I joined your Blueprint course. How should I start narrowing down on a project for Module 1? Oh, Nadia, I love that question. We are going to do we are going to cover that for sure in the kickoff, and we have an entire, one of the webinars we do with each module is about selecting your project. So there's a lot to that. Kind of, hopefully you got some ideas today from us talking, but if you have any ideas early, you can submit that and we can have an instructor kind of have an email conversation with you. We are going to have a whole webinar for that right into the beginning of the course. So yes, that is good. Hopefully that helps. Okay. But really be looking at, just a tidbit, because I want to make sure you get what you need. Be looking at processes that might be challenging. Like if you're a BA, where's the challenge, where's the problem, and thinking about what process would kind of benefit your organization in that way. Okay, let's see. Joy asked, should certification be a reasonable step if I have gained 5+ years of experience as a BA? Yeah, so the next certification for somebody with 5 years of experience to really be looking at is the CBAP. And so that would be a reasonable step, and a lot of people find a lot of value in going through the CBAP process. Let's see. But you really want to look at what are your goals for the certification. It's not like you have 5 years of experience and you have to get certified. Like, what is your reason for being certified? Okay. follow-up question from Joy. What are the other career paths beyond BA? My last role was technical management consultant, doing process analysis and mapping, and currently exploring data science. Yeah, so if you like the data part, look at data analysis, look at data science, look at business intelligence, right? So it really, there's a plethora of opportunities that BA opens up. There's BA leadership, there's managing a team, there's doing higher level consulting, there's doing program management. And then if you're more in the technical route, doing the data science, if you really like to dig into the data and help business make better decisions, looking at that, and business intelligence is a whole nother path as well. Okay. All right. Couple of questions about, just to recap the program details. Like, I'm at work and I'm distracted. Okay. So it starts September 13th. The investment is $2,997. There's a payment plan because we understand that that's a big investment. It allows you to break that up over 4 months. It does last for 4 months. It goes through the middle of January. Actually, we provide instructor support through the end of January, and you can expect to spend about 2 or 3 hours a week. And part of that is learning these materials, and part of that is applying them in your project work so that you can really get the most benefit. And then you have this instructor team to support you as you're doing that. That's the high level of the program. Okay. Oh, right, the 2 Jennifers that have been emailing me. Yes, there is. Okay, let's see. I have around 2 years of experience as a BA in one company, and now I'm changing the company. What can I expect to be different? And what steps should I take in order to succeed in gaining trust in the new company? Yeah, so what happens when you change companies is like and I did this in my career, like I had this great technical expertise that I'd built in my company. I knew the product, I knew the system, I knew the stakeholders. Then I moved across the country and I started a new business analyst role. And it felt like I was a fish out of water, right? It felt like I didn't know what I was doing, right? Because all of a sudden I didn't know the technology, I didn't know the stakeholders. I was scheduling meetings and they were kind of just bombarding me with information, right? And we talked a bit about this, about feeling like the least knowledgeable person in the room, and I really felt that way. And what I learned to do, like what to expect, is that you will feel that way, and what to lean on is not like, how do I become the expert quickly? Though you do want to learn that business quickly, but how can I use my core business analyst skills that were foundational in helping me be successful in that first role? But then I got really used to being the expert, and so then I kind of forgot that those skills helped me be successful. So how can I use those skills in order to really be absorbing the information, critically analyzing the information, and especially those communication techniques. You talked about gaining trust, communication techniques to learn the information and to demonstrate back that I'm like learning something from what I'm hearing. So that's a bit about what to expect. And you want to get started by talking about, like, what are the terms, like the glossary, what are the business processes, what's the first project that you need to be successful on, and what does success look like for that project. So just some tips for you there. I actually recorded a video. I think it's my very most recent video on that topic specifically. Okay. Right. Let's see. I have recently acquired platform app builder certification and currently performing the role in procurement department. What skills must I point out in my CV, and what should the potential? So Ahad, tell me a little bit more about what you want to do. So what skills you need to point out is really based on where you want to go. And so there's a lot of ways that you could go. He says data analysis. So for data analysis, you want to point out then, where have you analyzed data currently, right? So, or use this, your app, and this is more of a Salesforce question than I think a BA question, right? So, but where can you use that app builder experience that you have. Where has that allowed you to analyze some data, and where can you analyze data now in that role, and so that you're building that experience that you can speak to. Okay. All right. Okay. And Jamie, I think I got all the questions. If there's anything I missed, let me know. Let's see. And then Nadia has a question.
Did you get the one about how does Agile dilute BA roles in an organization?
Oh, great. Let me look. I think I skimmed over that one. Because that person had left, right?
Oh, did they leave?
Yeah. Let me see if I can find it. Thank you.
It was at 12:55.
Okay, thank you. That helps. Oh, wondering how does Agile, thank you. How does Agile dilute the BA roles in the organization? So this is, I'm glad this came up. It's actually probably a great one to close on. Still happy to take more questions if you have them. But like, there is a lot of fear with Agile, right? Because when you look at an Agile team, there's no title on an Agile team for business analyst. And so we've seen restructuring where like you can be a product owner or a scrum master. Where's the business analyst, right? And the thing is somebody is always doing these techniques. Somebody's always using these skills. So who is going to figure out, like the Agile team is focused on delivering the software. So they're really entrenched in this level and in this level. They're not really looking at that business process side. They need it, like we need to know how the business process is going to work so that that software actually gets used. So I think a lot of these BA roles actually end up outside of the team. Sometimes they end up in product manager, product owner roles that are doing this business level piece as part of their product ownership of overseeing the team doing this piece, right? So there's a lot of ways that the roles end up happening. And it sometimes it can be a little bit spread apart, but the skills are still important. So having somebody that knows these skills or being a person that can bring these skills to the table is still extremely important in an Agile team. Because somebody is doing them, whether they're on the Agile team or elsewhere, if we're delivering software successfully. Okay, and it's actually meeting the true business need. Okay, all right. I will leave it open just for a minute in case any lingering questions. I always have that fear I'm going to close things down and somebody's like feverishly typing. Excuse me. All right. Well, thank you so much for being here. We still have a lot of people that have stayed on like till way past the top of the hour. I appreciate your time. If you have questions that come up as you're considering the blueprint, let me know, email us, reach out to us via email. We are happy to answer those questions. I would love to have you join the blueprint. We have been working on this session for all summer to get the planning done, really. There's a lot that goes into it, and we're really excited to get started. And we really want to help you take the next step in your business analyst career. It's what fires us up. It's why we do what we do. And the instructors are super excited and ready to help you, and me too, right? Obviously. So I'm excited to have you join us. And if you have any questions, please be in touch. We will talk to you again soon. Bye-bye now.